Many people think love is enough to sustain a relationship. But if love alone is enough to sustain a relationship, many marriages would have never failed. But the truth is this: love may bring two people together to start a relationship, but it takes covenant to sustain the relationship. Welcome to Covenant Sunday on 1 Minute with David, Faith in Every Minute. Here we look at relationship, marriage, and commitment through the lens of God's design. Because relationships are not to be built on feelings alone, but relationships are to be built on covenant. Some of the issues people face in their relationship is due to the mindset that they build with. And one of those is thinking that feeling alone is all that matters in a relationship. We must understand that our feelings are only a byproduct of some other more important and stronger factors. Feelings in themselves are not the premise on which a long-lasting relationship should be built. And we must understand that feelings are a product of other factors, like I've said earlier on. And I want to share some of these factors that influence the way we feel per time as regards a thing or a person. Some of the things and factors that bet our feeling. One of those is our mindset. What we think and know determines on what we feel about that thing. The limit of knowledge we have determine how well we judge and we occasionally feel as regards a thing. So what we know, the limit of our knowledge determine whether we will feel a thing has been right or something has been wrong. Our mindset will determine whether we feel something is suitable or something is acceptable. It depends on our mindset. So, another factor that has the capacity to influence our feeling is our circumstance. Our circumstance, to a very large extent, has the capacity to influence how we feel, despite it may not have the capacity to influence what we ultimately do or take as a decision. But our circumstance has the capacity to influence our feeling as regards how we see a thing, person, or circumstance. Our circumstance can determine how we feel about a thing or person or situation. So, and we must remember that our circumstances are not constant, but they are subject to change. Hence, our feelings too can change. Before we talk more on that, another factor that can influence our feelings is our hormones. Our hormones, whether we know it or not, has the capacity to influence, even most time influences our feeling about a person, thing, or situation most of the times, because we usually are not aware when some certain hormones have been released in our bodies. But its ability to influence our decisions by what we feel is very tangible. So our hormones is another factor that has the capacity to determine and influence how we feel as regards a thing, person, or even situation. Hence, we must understand that all of these factors that I just listed as regards our mindset, circumstance, and hormones, which determines how we feel, which are the building block and foundations of our feelings. All of these stronger factors are subject to changes. Our mindsets can change. Our circumstance definitely will not be permanent, and our hormones fluctuate and they are released, and sometimes they are not released. Hence, a relationship that will last can't be built on something that changes. And some people make the mistake to think that when the feelings are not there, it means the love is not there again. And you see, based on what we've understood, we know better now. Right now, we are going to examine some biblical examples that showed us what true love is all about and what covenant actually means. Take the first marriages ever recorded in history on earth, which was between Adam and Eve. We saw that the relationship between them was not built on feelings, but on covenant. And one scripture that proved this is the book of Genesis, chapter 2, when God commanded the man. And Adam was speaking, and he said, therefore shall a man leave his father and mother. We see there that a man, nonetheless what he feels for his mother and father, he has to cleave, commit now to his wife. Another biblical example to show us what truly covenant and love is Ruth and Naomi. We saw that nonetheless what had happened to Naomi, Ruth stayed. Ruth stayed with Naomi and made a decision to stay with Naomi and to follow Naomi's God and to go wherever she goes with her. That is another perfect portrait of what covenant and true love really is. Here we must understand two things basically, which is love and covenant. Love, usually for most of us, is that emotion, feeling we have for a person or thing per time. But we must understand that covenant is superior, which we have seen from our above examples we just gave. That covenant is decision accompanied with commitment. So covenant is decision accompanied with commitment. Quickly, we are going to examine now the three major pillars and building block to building a relationship. Number one is love. Love is powerful. It brings people together and it makes them want to know each other more, makes people fond of each other. But love alone cannot bear the weight for a lasting relationship. And that will then lead us to the second pillar, which is covenant. Another pillar on which relationship is expected to be built is covenant. Now, covenant chooses a relationship even though the feelings may fluctuate. Covenant says, I will remain committed even in difficult times. And this is what is required to sustain a relationship. Covenant is what it takes to sustain a relationship. Another pillar and understanding we must have in building and sustaining a relationship is that marriage is a covenant relationship. Marriage is not meant to be temporal. Rather, marriage is a covenantal relationship in the sense that we don't just get to work out probably because the feelings are not there, or because we feel bad temporarily, but we are meant to commit nonetheless our feelings per time and seasons. Understanding what we have said so far, are we preparing for covenant or just for romance? Are our relationship expectations emotional or spiritual? And are we learning commitment right now? If we reflect on this properly, we'll know how far we can go in not just building but sustaining a relationship. Now, I want to ask us a very important question. Is love enough to sustain a relationship, or is covenant necessary? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Now, finally, we must understand that love may bring two people together, but it takes covenant to keep them together.
This is 1 Minute with David. Faith in every minute.